Yo, hey guys. Welcome to the first study session. Um, this is super exciting. It's the first time that we've done one of these like sessions, and the idea is just that we all come and we talk about the challenges that we're having in web development. And rather than doing a workshop, it's more just like sharing stuff that we've learned in the past week or two, and asking for help with the different problems that we're having. So basically, what we're gonna do for today is we're just gonna like introduce ourselves and tell a little bit about our experience. Then we're gonna have some time to like share the projects that we've been working on and the experiments that we've been doing. And then we're going to go into some hot topics like what stack do you use, or are you going to use Postgres or Firebase? That's pretty much it. And yeah, I'll just start by talking about myself. As you guys know, I'm a developer for a while. I've used a lot of different stacks, mostly in the startup environments. I have mainly just tried out a bunch of different stuff and then thrown it away. Um, I right now I really like to use TypeScript. I like to use Next.js a lot because it's like because it just kind of there's a lot of hosting services that support it, but that's really the main reason why I use it. Um, and Yeah, I'm from New Hampshire, which is a state up in the north. All right, that's about me.
Who do you want
Michael.
to go next? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm Michael. I have been working in tech for 10 years, but the last year I've been doing my own startup product ideas. So I've actually started out doing physical products, which is funny. And then I switched back to software because I realized that's what I was good at. And so I stayed where what I'm good at. I also just enjoy it, I think, a little bit more than software or than physical products. But yeah, so I am working. I've been the product that's probably the most successful at this point is Lincoln Chat, and so that I have like it's basically Instagram automation using AI, and I have customers, which is cool, paying customers, which is even more cool. And I've been playing around with a couple other ideas. So one that James and I have already done some streams about are is a murder mystery app, which has been fun to build. It's kind of more like a side hobby project, and I wanted something a little bit different than what I was working on every day. And then the last week, and this, I'm going to talk about it more later, I've been working on this product that helps small businesses redesign their websites, kind of using a combination of like AI and structured components. But yeah, I'll talk more about it later, and I'll pass it off to Akhilesh.
So I'm Akhilesh. I'm from India, and I just graduated in 2023. Since then, I was working with a company back in India, mostly building React apps, and then I decided to pursue my master's here in the US. So currently, I'm pursuing my master's in computer science from George Washington University. And while doing this, also I met James via Build Space, and we have been. He was working on a tool which basically lets non-coders to make any kind of web app that they want via just a prompt. So I really like that idea, and then I contacted James, and since then I've been working on that idea as well. And then we have also came up with another idea with which people can build their uh, own apps with just using templates that we are providing them. So since the past week, I've been using Next.js and PostgreSQL to build accommodations template, which I'll talk about later. And so yeah, that's me.
That's cool. Hey James, that's I actually been wanting to talk to you about this idea I've been working on, and I'm like, dang, are we building like the same thing but independently? Because when I started building it, I was like, this is kind of like James's app, but just like a little bit more structured. The more I think about it, but it'd be funny. It'd be funny if we're all building the same thing.
Hey, well, here we are. If we're building the same thing, then we're in the right place. But I guess we're gonna find
Yeah,
out.
no, that wouldn't bother me at all. I'd be like, ooh,
Well, Yeah, and I think just get into that, like, I think we were building and we still are building AI tools to help developers, work more productively. But then again, like when you're building for developers, there's these like obvious problems that always show up again and again. Like we were
Mm,
just talking about like Stripe, and then like one of the things that I keep running up against again is like templating. So like um and there's probably like so many different ways to skin a cat when it comes to templating. So we might have really different perspectives on that as well.
tell me more. When you say templating, what do you mean by templating?
Well, I'm about to show you what we
Oh,
mean.
demo it. That's even better.
So, on my computer. Yeah. So basically, I have put up a GitHub repository, and it is a fork from something that Vercel created. Um, Here, let me share that up. So this tab, but maybe just to give like a tiny bit more more background of like how we even found this template here. So I was just really curious, like what are the templates out there that you can just use to start an app from? And so I was looking around on GitHub. They have all of these templates, but they're kind of hard to search for. And like for this one, for example, this one is it's a Next.js template for platform.sh, which is some, I guess, some hosting framework, and it's really well updated, but it's kind of hard to find. So I
Mm.
started actually like making a whole list of every template on GitHub, because you can't search for templates, and there's some good ones, but there's not a lot of really really good ones. Some of the ones that are the best, I think, are from Vercel,
Yeah.
and so they do their best to update them. This is the one that we started from. Okay, this one was updated 3 weeks ago. It's all right. And so this is the one that we started from, and it's like a dashboard using a Postgres database, and then they have Next.auth login. So that's a good start. And then what I've done with my template is kind of like two things. Okay, I haven't updated the README yet, sorry. But once you download it, I'm going to open up like a terminal window, and then I'm going to share that up, what it looks like. Okay, let's just stop screen, present, share screen. We'll get like a crazy hall of mirrors for a second, and then I'm going to minimize that. Okay, yeah, I'm just going to close. Okay, cool. So this is the template.
Oh, I was gonna ask. I've been thinking about turning on Turbo. What does Turbo actually do? Is it just like a faster or something, or what's the?
I don't know that, man.
Okay, okay. I know that it's still like considered in like development or something, so you have to like put it in the flag. So maybe their template has it in their
Yeah,
flag by
it
default.
does.
But
Can you see this?
yeah,
Okay, so
Yeah.
then this is what I've added to the template, and this is sort of what we're working on. This is what I'm working on. One thing, actually, I should work on a different thing. And so, just give me one sec. Okay, good. Yeah. So, yeah. So so like some image generation stuff. Let's see. That should just take a second, and then similar thing, like you can upload a picture of something, and
sorry, I
then
just like the title of the folder, AI Possum.
yeah,
A folder of AI
I'm
Possum.
not gonna get too much
Not just
into
one AI Possum, but a folder of AI Possum.
I'll have to save that one for another time. And then another one, which is just okay. So I've edited the prompt. I've put in a custom prompt here to like JSON mode and stuff.
Mhm.
But you can see the kind of stuff that you can do, right? This was actually, we were working on something during a workshop to add labels onto this, but
Mhm.
but that's what I added. That's the first thing that I did, and we're building more features to make this more of like a feature complete app. But then the other thing is basically this setup, and and so the idea is that instead of having to go through the whole README,
Mm.
there will be actually like an explanation here of like how to turn on your Postgres URL, and that's just a couple clicks in Vercel. Okay, I want to add like login with GitHub. Then I need to go to here, add something, create a key, paste it in here, go create an OpenAI key, paste it in here, and then when that's done, when that's done, it would update this for me. Very, very, very basic, but you can imagine in the future even the idea of it like going to the web on its own and maybe even setting some of this up for you. End goal being just to have a template that works right away. And yeah,
Cool.
that's it. That's what I've been working on.
I noticed, and I used one of the Vercel templates, and they had some of that stuff like in their like Vercel CLI. Have you tried that at all? Okay.
Oh,
Like
really?
you could have it generate a I'll send you the template that I used. Or actually, if you want, like here, actually, let me look it up and I'll send it here and we can look at it because it's actually the template I'm using. Because it's like I'll tell you what I'm building next and like later, and it
Yeah.
makes sense why.
Yeah.
But wait, it's the platforms Vercel template starter kit. Here we go. Do you want me to share my screen? And
Yeah.
then I can send the link too, but I'll just like maybe
Yeah.
walk you share my whole screen. There we go. Okay. Yeah, so this is like one of their templates, and yeah, it is really well done. But where did I
Mm-hmm.
read the guide? So they wrote like a whole guide. So yeah, there's some stuff that you have that is really nice because you can like you said, like there's parts of this where I just have to like you read the README and it tells you what to do.
Yeah.
But one of the things it did that was pretty cool was this is like I did it a little bit backwards, but you could do it this way. So it's kind of similar. You grab the template, you do the dev and that works, but then the setup of the environment variables.
What's that at the top?
Uh,
Where's that? Oh, that's just the project structure. Okay. Cool.
oh yeah. This is just project structure. So that's not super relevant to what we were talking about. But where was is this it? Follow steps. Oh yeah, so you can do this thing like VC environment poll, I think is what it is, and it like generates it or something like that.
Oh, that's great.
Oh no, you still have to. Okay, you still have to provision it,
Mm-hmm.
but the VC environment poll will pull like the stuff. So you can't like generate it via. Okay, so I have it mixed up. It's not quite right. But it's
That's
cool.
really
Is like once.
that's really similar to something that we were talking about, which is we wish that you could create the storage databases via command line.
Yeah, so you can't create it though. That's the thing I was wrong about. So you have to still go to their web app and like provision it for that project. But then what's kind of cool is they have this like VC environment poll, which will basically just like grab all of your environment variables from that platform and like put it in your like local host, which is kind of cool.
Right.
I think it's maybe more useful for like let's like a team or something where it's like you now like let's say if I add you to my team, James, I could just say like, oh, run VC environment poll, and then it like pulls all the things you need to get your local host up and running without having to like manually go do it. But that's pretty. It's like it's similar to what you were what you were showing me kind of gave me similar vibes of like, oh, here's like it just helps you like automate these steps that are probably automatable. If not, you don't have to like manually click all these buttons.
I agree. So I think in Vercel you can create databases and sort of automatically create those environment variables, but then you need to copy them if you want to do it on local. Yeah. So that's something that we could integrate. There's also ways to just like directly create Vercel projects from the templates online, but I realized that it normally makes more sense to spin up a for me, it normally makes sense to spin up a local development first.
Yeah, so I felt the same way, and actually, what I found like a weird hack around it is you can like start setting it up there and then like stop before it like does everything, and then I basically like it'll already have created the repo, and so I'll just like pull the repo and then I'll do like the rest locally. But that's kind of just been my workflow because like sometimes it's like, oh, you need these keys, you need these things, and it's like, oh, it's actually a lot easier to once you have their keys all like auto generated, you can
Yeah.
then go go into your
Yeah.
local and then do the other ones and then like push them later.
But
Um,
it feels like the Vercel deploy from template feature is really easy and clean, but it's only like half finished.
mm, yeah, yeah, it's
You
something that
need
like
to
if it was
get it locally, yeah.
Yeah, but cool. So who wants to go next?
I'll go next if you, yeah.
yeah.
So let
Let
me
me
just, yeah.
let me just add in one more person. Yo, hey Diego. All right, welcome Diego, everyone. All right, Akilesh, you can.
Hi, how are you guys?
Oh, hey, how's it going?
Hey.
Yeah,
Thanks
I
for
was on. Sorry. How are you?
joining
Good.
in. I think you
Thank you.
probably missed the intros. But we can go and redo it real quick. Do you just want to tell us real quick where you're from and what your web development experience is?
Yeah, sure. Well, hi guys. My name is Diego. I'm from Venezuela. I've been coding like take it. I've been taking coding seriously for about 3 years now. Before that, it was just like a hobby. I played games in the computer that taught me some coding, but I didn't really take it that seriously until I did Iron Hack, a bootcamp in 2021, and then I landed my first real job in late 2021, and then that's when I started coding as a profession.
Cool. And what technologies do you normally use for web app development?
Well, I started using PHP and Laravel because the
Uh-huh.
team that I worked on for the first time used that. And then later on, I used React with the
Cool.
knowledge that I acquired with Ironhack.
Cool. Do you have any thoughts on Next.js? That's the kind of the current topic that we're talking about today. Have you used it?
Well,
Do you like it?
actually, I haven't, dug in that
Mhm.
real much because, well, here in Venezuela, we just use the tech. We don't advance too much in technology. We just use where it works. So I haven't really dug on with that. I would like to. That's why I joined this meeting to hear everybody's thoughts and to see if I can start using Next.js and become good at it.
Cool. Well, welcome from Venezuela, you said, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, welcome. And yeah, with the three of us are using it, so I mean, looks like you're in the right place.
Yeah, I'm very thankful for the opportunity to be here. Actually,
Yeah, welcome. And Lucas?
Hi, I'm listening to this. Can you hear me? Hello?
Hey, how's it going?
Hey.
Yeah, sorry, I'm in a cafe right now, so it's gonna be a little noisy, so I'll try to mute. Um, yeah, hi, I'm from LA. I'm currently in LA right now, but um, can you hear me right?
Yeah, it's a bit quiet, but if you speak up, it's fine.
Oh wait, let me just. How about now? Does it work?
Yeah, yeah, it's okay. We can hear.
Okay, so basically, I'm from LA and I am actually co-founding a startup with two other people. One is a CTO. He's currently busy, so like we are working on the design side. Like I come from UX design background, and so
Cool.
I'm doing the design side and business side of the thing. But I feel like I kind of want to learn. I like before I went to a bootcamp for XR prototyping, so I
Cool.
learned C Sharp and Unity from that
Nice.
experience and like the computer science concepts. A little bit of them. So what I now that I'm doing web app as our startup, I kind of want to learn the Next.js and React because that's what my developer said he's using. And I kind of want to be a bit more helpful in terms of like being able to prototype the interactions and micro interactions. Because Figma and Framework are very limited on that front.
Yeah.
So that's like the goal is to help with the front end side of things to the dev since he's gonna be having to focus on like everything. Yeah, that's like trying to be the middle ground.
Cool. How did you feel when you were learning like Unity and C Sharp? Did you enjoy that?
The first 6 weeks was like hell.
Yeah.
Like my brain, it's like nothing works to me,
Yeah.
so I struggle with it a lot. But as I did more and more, like I started to learn how to think more like a programmer than like a designer. So a lot of like instead of just thinking about like the front end, how things work, there's a lot of like thinking about how the data is going to get passed along one another, like
Yeah.
how the sequences are going to come. So I started to like think in between the two mindset. I wouldn't say like I'm like talented or like good at it. So I do struggle a lot more with it than I know like people who are in computer science naturally do. It's not super natural to me yet. So yeah, that's around where I take it.
Okay, cool. And then do you know if aside from Next.js, like are there any particular technologies that you're working with? Like for example, like a database technology or like authentication or something? Because maybe we're using similar stuff as well.
I so basically I did my own MVP before in Flow.
Yeah,
Once so during that experience, I was learning. I did learn about LangChain. I also learned about Superbase. I
cool.
also learned like yeah how to use the authentication in Superbase and then
Yeah,
like the table thing. But it I kind of like learned shallow and then just went to practicing it. So I wouldn't know like the best form and stuff like that. A lot of ChatGPT helped me
are you
too.
using
So
Superbase? Is your CTO using Superbase now?
yeah.
Okay, cool. I've done a bunch of streams with Flutterflow. It's really fun.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
did help me learn like the full how app development works, like
yeah,
everything from how like because I realized that it wasn't the same as Unity where everything was already inside Unity, so I didn't have to do a lot outside, and a
yeah,
lot of the data handling for web like it's much more like split apart. So when I used Flutterflow, it
yeah.
kind of like taught me a lot about like how the web works and like how developing in it works compared to like a game that was all real time. So yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of glue, like just gluing the main app to the database, the authentication and everything, and the payments and all of that. It's a lot.
Yeah, that's
Like, cool. So, yeah, I guess with that, Akhilesh was about to show us something that he's been working on, which which is also something that like I think is open source, and you guys can also have a look at as well. If there's something that like yeah that looks useful. Yeah, I'll let him take the stage.
Yeah. So since the past 2 days, I've been working on student housing. So I have this problem that I wanted to solve. A lot of students like me are coming in internationally to the US and to any country, and they've been struggling to find accommodations nearby to the university. So what I thought was to provide them with a platform that can help them find people who are subletting their homes, and they can find them there, and then they can rent a place, and vice versa. So since the so me and James were discussing how we can make this template, and so I've used next auth with it. So let me just screen share so that I can
Yeah,
show you guys. Um, yeah, yeah. So I've been using, yeah. So this is the home page, and I've been using Vercel's V0 to build builds build these templates. So basically, uh, So this is V0, as some of you may know that we can just write a prompt here that build me a home page for a accommodation site, and then it will just okay. I may I ran out of the credits, but so basically I built this with the V0 of which Vercel has provided. So then I took this and I implemented this in my own project, and then and also I've used Next.auth for the authentication. So basically, right now, I've what I've done is I have implemented the authentication with Google and with GitHub, so that as you can see here. So basically, me and James were working on the template that he was showing before, the Next.auth template, which is provided by Vercel. But in that, there were some issues with the environmental variables. So what I did was I built it from the ground up with the code rather than using the template. So there are a few steps that we have to follow basically. So first we need to create a so uh
Can you make the text?
direct
Can you make it
sorry.
bigger? Can you make it
Oh
bigger?
yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So so first to initialize Next.auth, we need to create this directory which is this API authentication and then Next.ts. Then I have created basically a route through which Next.auth is handled. So
Can you
there are
also
two
make
hand.
it bigger?
Oh
Just the
yeah,
beginning.
sorry.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yes, sorry. Uh,
Just like Control plus.
yep, I'm doing good.
Ah, cool.
Okay.
Yeah, that's funny, baby. Cool.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. So yeah, so this is the handler, and then I have the yeah. So I have the Git providers for GitHub and then for Google. So basically, what we are doing is that whenever the use so the what next we are just importing Google provider and GitHub provider from Nextauth, and then we are creating so Nextauth also has a default sign-in page which look like this, but if we want to create a custom sign-in page, we can uh, use this to define a path for our sign-in page. And after that, we have to set up providers with GitHub. So we basically need to make our own OAuth app with by going to the developer settings, and then uh, we're taking we're taking client ID and client secret from here and putting it in the .env.local here, and then this is so I'm also using Postgres database. I'm currently working on this right now. It's not complete yet. I just did the next auth, which is complete right now. And then for Google, we are just going to Google Cloud Console, and then we're taking our secrets from here. And then also the main thing which were bugging me and James when we were using Next.auth CSS template was that this homepage URL and authorization callback URL. So when we are using Next.auth templates, there's no we do not have the homepage and homepage URL because basically we have not hosted our application right application right. So we'll just put the local host here first. Here also we can put sorry here local host, and then when we host it on Vercel, we can just put this URL so that whenever after the login, users are redirected to the homepage that our app has. So. this was it. And then also for V0, if you want to use V0 in your own project, we can use it via yeah. So we can just install V0 with this command, and then we just copy. So whenever we make a template, which is this, we can just copy this command, and then we can put it in our own project, and it will add. We'll just put it in here, and then it will add this component in the components folder. It will make a new component folder, but I have this already, so it will make a new component folder when I put in the name, and then it's imported into the our project, and then we can tweak it however we want. So this was what I was building since the past 2 days. I'm still new in this Next.auth and Next.js, so I would love to hear some ideas that you guys might have on my project. So yeah, this was it.
Cool. Yeah. Oh wait, is he still there? Did he just leave?
Maybe he tried to exit streaming and he just like exited the whole stream.
Yeah, I
It's
just
like
heard.
leave studio.
I just heard. So this was it, and then he left.
Yeah,
I
I
was
think that's what happened.
I was about to ask him some questions, but yeah, just for anyone. So I think he just did a really. Oh, there he is. He's back.
Oh, I'm sorry,
It
what happened?
was a graceful exit, but yeah, I was just about to say that was a really nice walkthrough of basically how you set up a new project with V0 and Nextauth with Vercel. It's kind of a I followed it because we did it together. It may be a lot for someone if it's the first time, but it's a really good reference
Yeah,
even to go back and
I'm
watch and
building a thorough documentation for it as well as I'm building it. So I'll also make sure to share it after we finish this.
a couple of questions. Could you just go through what was the basically what was the decision process in your head when you decided I want to use Nextauth?
Yeah, so for Nextauth, as I, so I got introduced to Nextauth 2 months ago, I guess, and then since then I was basically using Firebase for authentications for most of my projects when I was working back in India. So what Firebase does is we have this vendor lock-in, right? So when we are using Firebase, we have to use Firebase for the whole project. If you want to shift it to something else, we basically have to redesign our whole database and everything. Right. So with Nextauth, it doesn't have to be like that because we are just so that was the one reason that I was using that I decided to use Nextauth, and the other was that it's really easy to kind of easy to set up when after you have done it for the first time. Like it may confuse you first if you're using it for the first time, just like when we were using it on Vercel for when we were using the template. But after that, when I set it up locally and when I set it up from the ground up, it became so easy, and I just love how customizable it is, right? So that was my thought process.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I was one of the things that you were saying about like your documentation, how to set it up, was that just more your notes on like how to do it? Or I'm assuming in your template you're gonna just have those like files already created for people, right? Is that
Yeah,
okay? Okay. Yeah, because I was gonna say I think the templates I've used normally have that like those files already created, and it
yeah,
has generally worked for me. Actually, I have to admit I'm running into one issue with it, but I think it might be like my template is a little bit more complicated, which we can talk about a little bit later. But
Yeah.
I still haven't gotten it working, but I don't have a need for it yet, so I just put it off, and I figured I'll figure it out later. But I have used Nextsoft before, and some of my other products use Nextsoft, so I do know how it works. But it's cool. It's a great product.
yeah.
Cool. I'll also just share one. You might have seen it. Also, just share one video that I made that walks through the basic Vercel template with Next.js. In case anyone wants that, I'll put that here in the comments.
Cool.
Cool. Well, I guess it's up to you, Michael.
Yeah.
Sweet. Those are some cool demos. I'm not really 100% sure how to cover what I'm doing, but yeah, maybe just a quick intro for Diego and Lucas. So I have another product called Beacon Chat that I've been working on, and that product started out as being entirely built on Supabase and Supabase edge functions. I didn't even have there was like basically no UI. I think I had a framer site that like pinged an edge function, and that was it. And that was, so it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool that we could build it all in Supabase without any like literally very few deploys. But yeah, so then I built a Next.js app around that to handle like an actual admin page. So that's been kind of my experience with like Next.js. And then I built a couple other products using Next.js. And yeah, now that I understand it, I like it. I think at first it's a little bit, some of the stuff around like SSR and like how that works, like it's a little complicated, I think, if you're not used to like what it's doing. But yeah, it's cool. So that's kind of like my intro. But so here's what I'm working on now. I might give a quick like introduction. Let me pull up something to show, to give some demo. It's a little easier to show. But basically, I have this theory that, sorry, just do entire screen. So there's a bunch of websites or people trying to create website builders. It's like really popular right now. And I was like really inspired by, V0 at like how good it was at generating like components like on the fly. And it's like one of the few like really wow moments I've had with AI recently where I'm just like, wow, this is really good. And I use it a ton. I use that a ton to create components, and then I use Cursor a ton where I'm like, make a component, resized, or like this thing, like add some shadow so it like stands out more, and it just does like a really good job of like doing design stuff. So I was thinking about it, and I was thinking, well, it's hard to compete or what I should say is, the people who are building this, like Type Dream is a big example of like an AI generated website, but they're competing with, or they're targeting, let's say, internet natives and startups who have usually like a pretty high expectations, right? Because if you're a startup, like maybe you want to have a really good landing page because that's how people like trust your software. So it's like hard to make something with AI that's like unique and high quality and looks really good and has animations and all the cool stuff that like a startup landing page has. And I was thinking, I'm like, what kind of businesses like the bar is much lower. And so I started looking into like small businesses. So they have sites that are like this is a real site for a real company. And so the bar to make this better is quite low. Yeah. And what's also, so like, here's an example, like this is on mobile, what it looks like. It just like scales like this. There's no like mobile friendliness. But it has like all this information. So it has like, it tells you like where they operate and like services. And so it has like a lot of the information built in. And probably the main thing keeping people like this from like updating their site is just like, the hassle of, and the cost of hiring somebody to like redesign it for them and put it on a new platform is like high. But the value is also of like just like redoing it is quite high for them as well, because they're competing with like other websites, like other lawn care companies that are starting newer usually have like a much better looking site. It's much easier to use. It's like, you can look it on your mobile. And so I'm using a combination of like components that I've generated. I use V0 for quite a bit of it. So I appreciate your use of V0. And then I just like scrape their site to get all the information that they have on their site, and then just like use these like components and AI to like put it all together for them. And so this is like not entirely sorry, I should probably go this slower. I'm like speaking through, but like it creates like this header for them. It creates a hero. It creates this like quote that they can pull up and like people can submit quotes more easily. It has this like button where you can send them a text message. I grabbed this. These are actual reviews on their site that the AI grabbed and like put in this component. These are services it grabbed, and it like picked these icons with a little bit of my help. And yeah, and then I can go through the code, but like basically that's kind of like roughly what I'm building. And these are just some demos. I've made about 6 or 7 of these sites and sent them to the people. Yeah, and so basically my my hot take is, well, sorry, let me, would it be cool to show, let me show you some of the code. I think the code is kind of fun too. But that's kind of like what I'm building. And then let me see like what's interesting in here. Yeah, so this is actually like what one of the sites looks like right now. So so these are all these like components that I created, and they're kind of somewhat generic. So let me show you like a hero component, for example. And so each of them are like this. So it basically has, well, this is like another component that I pull in, like the quote dialogue, but it has this like data that you put into it. So it's like, what's the background image? What should the heading be? What should the subheading be? What are the button texts? And then this is a component that will take all of that input and then render it. And right now, this one's pretty limited, right? Like if you notice here, actually, this one doesn't have any tailwinds, but eventually I'm planning to add. So it's like, the texts and like you can basically, it can like do some styling for itself, because I've noticed AI is really good at tailwinds because there's a lot of data with a lot of tailwinds out there. So I could imagine a world where you can even give it input like, hey, can you make this blue? Or like, can you try a different color scheme? And it would like regenerate it with different color schemes. Actually, this header is a good example. So this header, you can like set the text color and the hover background and all of that. And that's all AI generated. So the AI will actually generate like what the colors and text colors should be of the button. But yeah, let me give you an yeah. And so then like going back to, what was the page I originally showed? So yeah, so what happens is like, this is like the stuff that's all like pretty much standard. And then I just basically have the AI generate these objects based on the data it scrapes. And I'll show you how I scrape it. But basically it's like, okay, this is the logo image from their site. This is their company name. These are just kind of like made up. This is the phone number that it grabbed from the data. This is a headline it created for this plumber. This is like the subheading for the hero. Dialogue, here's all the services that they have listed on their site. And so it just grabs all that, and I'll show you how I do that. So this, actually, let me show you, it might be better if I show you the localhost. So I built this like really simple like admin site. Oh, cool, this is already done, so I don't have to generate it. But like, this is the company that I just created this site. So it grabbed, I'll show you the actual site. I'm still working on how to like automate this a bit better, but basically like this is the site I found. So this is some site. It's like not super well designed. Can't remember if this one is actually, but it's got a lot of like good info, but it's like, this is like when you land on it, like this is okay, could be a little better. But it's got a lot of good information. So what it does is it like grabs all the information, so it crawls their site and just puts it all in Markdown. And this one had actually a ton of pages, so I need to figure out how to get it. I think I might add some sort of like, it just like cuts out some of like the duplicate text. There's a lot of like duplicate text it generates. Some of these sites, like they only have like 4 pages or something, so you don't really need to worry about it. This one's maybe the first site I've made where it's like maybe a bit too long. It's too much context for one AI model. But a lot of them are like, 5 pages, so you can just scrape the whole thing. And so then I click this extract data button. It runs it through a model that just kind of grabs the most important information, because I don't need all of that boilerplate text, but it gets like customer reviews and like this like about us and like stuff about the company and images. And then I just like plug that in to some AI prompts, which I can show you. And then it generates this part. So it like generates, all of this is like generated by AI for the most part. And I can basically like copy and paste this into a new page and commit that. And then I basically have like a template page I can show people. And what was I going to show you? I think the other thing I'll show you, which is kind of cool, is like the actual crawl page is pretty cool. Like this is something that I made last week to like speed up the process of creating these. So without going into a lot of detail, I actually grabbed this from like a template that had, there's like a Vercel website crawling, and I made just some minor adjustments. But this was like this really great class that handles like crawling a site. So you give it a URL and it like finds all the links, and then it like follows all the pages, and then it collects the HTML of each page. And what's cool about these sites too is most of them don't have any like JavaScript or React, so you don't need, like, you can basically, like, the first paint gives you all the data. There's no like rendering in the browser for the most part. So it's actually like even easier to crawl than normal. And so then I created this. There's a route that like returns this. So you give it a URL and it does this crawl. And then let me show you the actual page. Yeah, okay. So this page is that page I just showed you. So it takes the form using like Zod for the URL, and then it has these like different steps. So these are like the state, and then this is just like template stuff that's the same in every single site. So I just have it always put it out. But then I created all these bots. So they handle each generation. So they'll like generate like the nav bar, the hero, the review, and they have different prompts, which I could show you. And what was I going to show you? Okay, so this is handle crawl. So it basically hits that API with the URL, and then like gets all the data, and then it prints it out like I showed you. This just handles submitting it. So this handles the extracting of data. What does this one handle then? It's probably related. Oh, I think it handles like getting the, so this is actually one of the first calls. So what it does is like hits that API to get, to basically like crawl the result with and then it tells you what bot it's doing. So this is the extractor bot, which is, I'll show you in a second. But I basically have a bunch of different prompts that do different tasks. And then this is the generating content. So it actually just like runs through the list of bots, which I think is further up in the code. But yeah, so this just like runs through that. And then basically what happens is like all of this gets rendered to the page like I showed you. So it just like renders that. And then there's a button I created that like copies it. And so you can like quickly copy it. And then I paste it into, this is the one I think is this the one I just showed you? No, this is the one I just showed you. So literally I just like finished this a couple hours ago, and I just like copied and pasted this and did some minor edits and like removed some stuff that wasn't that good, and then generated that site. And so the plan is, let me stop sharing. But yeah, so actually any questions about that? And I'll go, yeah, there's a lot right there.
Yeah,
so
that's really cool. That's awesome. I want to have like some space for like discussion. So maybe as you're doing, if you wanted to demo it, right? So maybe as you're demoing it, we can also ask you questions. How's that?
Yeah, sure. Oh, like demo the generating of it?
Well, or only if, I thought you said you wanted to show something else, or is that?
I think that was it, basically. Basically, like that, like with that page I just showed you, I just like walked through. Oh, I was going to show you, I think the like the bots, but it's pretty standard. It's basically just like an array with like a bot name, and then there's like a system prompt, and then like a prompt that generates that JSON so it actually creates a JavaScript object right now, but eventually I'll put it in JSON mode and handle like JSON. But.
Yeah. I had a couple questions.
Yeah.
First of all, super awesome. As far as hosting, and then what you want to use for the backend, as far as like so people can send in requests or send chat, that kind of stuff. How are you approaching that for each of these sites that you're deploying?
Yeah, good question. So right now I'm like in the really intro phase. So I'm kind of just testing out like, is there demand for this? So I've just been manually generating like, it's like 80% AI generated. And then the rest is me just like cleaning it up and emailing it to them. Yeah. And then right now I'm just like copying it into a page like in GitHub. But the plan would be I need to think more about this, but the plan would be, so the template I'm using is the multi-site template on Vercel. And what's really cool is they actually have like a pretty fully featured template for hosting sites. Like, so people can create their own subdomain and then even point their own domain at that subdomain with like an A record. And it uses like Vercel APIs to like add that domain to your list and like route it to that subdomain, which is really cool. Like I thought that'd be the hard part, and it's like, no, Vercel already has a thing that just does that for you with like very little effort. But yeah, so the plan was they'll get their own subdomain, and then instead of it being all done in code, is that like config thing will be probably like stored in a database, and then the database will like look up like, hey, which components do they have and what config, and then like render that. So that's the plan. Yeah.
Okay, so to host all of the sites, all 100 or 1,000 of the sites you create on potentially one Vercel deployment with
Exactly. Yeah.
That's really
Yeah.
neat. I didn't think that would be I didn't think that would be so feasible, but that sounds super doable.
I thought it'd be hard. Like I thought that'd be the hard part, and I'd have to like manually do this for a long time. But the template is like, so actually, you know, like cal.com.
Cal.com?
Cal.com. It's like it's a Calendly alternative.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they use Vercel, and they use Vercel's APIs and stuff to do exactly this with like subdomains and stuff like that.
That's neat.
Yeah. So I haven't, to be fair, I haven't actually implemented that part. Once I implement it, I'm happy to like share how it works. But the template I'm using has that like mostly built out. Like I said, I have really not used it because I'm like at this point I just like I copy and paste it into, I manually just like commit the code and commit all the objects. But in the future, yeah, it'll be like dynamic versus statically stored in the page.
Sweet,
yeah.
Man. Any other questions?
Yeah. Oh, good. Yeah.
I think this
I
was.
was gonna say the. Oh, good.
No. I was just saying that this was so awesome. Like, what was your my question is that what was your thought process in building? How do you the scrape the website and then making the whole new website? Like you showed me, you showed the whole process, but then so what you're building is people will put any link into the into your tool, and then the new website will be generated by your tool, right?
That's the idea. Yeah, the idea is that there's like thousands of these small businesses that have a site that they like, probably a lot of them have paid somebody to build this like in the last, let's say 10 or 15 years, and then they've like either just like gone out of business or they still exist, but they're just like, oh, the site has my phone number and that's good enough. And they don't want to like pay or do the effort. And so my thought process is like, hey, if I can just take the work and make it like do all the work up front, two things I think make it interesting. So one is I think it's like a really great like sales opportunity, because like it's one thing when somebody comes to you and says like, hey, I could redesign your site for you, but like you have to, I have to like convince you like, here's this other site I did, and like I promise you I can make a good site for you. But if I'm literally emailing them with like a pre-designed site and saying like, hey, I grabbed all this info from your page, or I made some of it up as like template so that you can replace it. We can replace it with real stuff. And so I just thought it was really cool. Somebody did that for me for Lincoln Chat. They actually like wanted to redesign my site for me, and they just like redesigned it and sent it to me. And I just remember thinking like that was really cool. Like it was like not only did they like think they could help me, they just like did it. And then like I think if they'd asked for money, I probably would have paid for it, because I'm like, that's cool. Like you know, like you've already done the work. If I like it, I can pay for it. And if I don't like it, I can say no, I don't want it.
Yeah.
And the other thing I thought was kind of interesting is like also just the friction to getting it set up. Like if I can say, hey, I've done like 80-90% of the work, and now all you have to do is like point this domain to this location, and we do a couple little edits and like add in, you know, a couple things, and then it's like basically works. Like getting the barrier to entry to a new site to be really low.
That's awesome, man.
Another guy I was talking to, he's got a similar idea, and he was like, what if you had like a PDF? Like a lot of companies have like descriptions of their businesses in like all these different places.
Yeah.
Another idea I had was like, what if I could just like interview them? Like I could just like talk to them on the phone for like 30 minutes, transcribe it, and then have an AI like summarize their business and like all their services and like clean it up and make it look a lot nicer. And then the other idea I had kind of around this was that there's all these sites like Wix and Squarespace and some of these other AI generating templates. But I think for a lot of these people, what they really want is just like a person that manages their site for them. And so I want to create it more like that, where it's like they don't have to go into the website to like make changes. They could literally just like email me or email like the website. And then for now, it'll manually be me doing it with like some combination of AI. But in the future, it could just be an AI that's like, okay, what site is yours? Like, which pages are relevant to this question? And it's like, do I create a new page or do I update an existing page? And then it just like goes and finds that data, updates the data, and then sends them a link and says, hey, I updated this page. Like, is this what you wanted? It's like that's kind of what I'm really excited about, is that kind of like they don't need, you know, crazy animations or like complicated web flow stuff that these, you know, other sites are doing. They just want a page that's like, here's a button and like, you know, you can click on it and it can send you to send them a quote and like a booking link. It's like really simple stuff that they really need. And it's more about like the information, which is easier. Like it's, and I think they're not copywriters, so they don't want to have to sit down and write out like, they just want to tell them like, hey, I'm a plumber.
Yeah.
Here's what I think about plumbing. Here's some reviews I grabbed. Like, you know, so I think there's just so much you could do where you just like scrape the relevant data for them or get it in like diverse means, like images, all kinds of random stuff, and then turn it into a website for them.
That's very good.
So sadly, we don't have too much time left for today. There's so much more that I wanted to get into, but I think it's best save it for the next time. What I think I would appreciate a lot is if we could all just say like, oh, well, first of all, do you want me to create some kind of group? If you're already in so many different groups already, then that's fine. But if you find it useful, I could create like a WhatsApp group or something like that. And then second off, yeah, should we meet? I'm doing a few more related workshops, well, study sessions like this. One is going to be on machine learning and another one's going to be on low code. Maybe I'll do it every couple of weeks. Yeah, maybe every 2 weeks. I'm not sure. That, let me know what you think. And then finally, yeah, what would be like everyone's goal or ideal thing that they could learn maybe in the next session or in the next couple of sessions? So yeah, we just appreciate hearing that.
So
Well, I can go first because I
yeah,
think that from all of you, I'm the newest one. I don't have the experience that you guys have, but I'm really excited to hear your guys' ideas and all that. And I'm really excited just to learn how to accomplish a project by myself, like you guys are doing. Because I think my biggest, I don't know if I can call it fear, or my biggest, bloat rock is that sometimes doing it by myself, it scares me a little bit because all of the, when you're starting to code, all this, big things come at you, and I don't really know how to,
Yeah,
focus my mind to not be scared by
yeah,
the middle of it all.
it
So I'm
helps.
actually, yeah, sorry,
No, go
you can
on.
talk. So I'm actually excited to see, how you guys
Yeah,
go through all the process of starting a project, developing it, seeing the mistakes, learning from them, and then, move on and try to build the best idea you can with, by counting on yourself, because I think that at the end of it, you just can count on yourself and no one else.
it helps a lot to have a support group. I would add though, like I can tell like Michael and Akilesh and I, we're all very independent, but I think we've all benefited a lot. I can speak at least for myself. I've benefited a lot for having like a good support group of people that I can ask for like the 10-20% of the time when I'm just really stuck. Also sitting next to Michael for 10 weeks helps as well. Just having people that you can ask questions to. So
James helped me too. I had to learn a lot about React sitting next to James, so I appreciate him helping me out.
So keep that in mind. Like, don't feel that you need to get to solve everything on your own. It's good to have like, and maybe this can even be that group for you, but just have any group where you feel comfortable asking people questions when you get stuck.
Yeah, I'm really excited to start this new road because here in Venezuela, I think that people are starting to notice that technology is the way, because here people, not that they're scared of it, but they used to do the things, the old traditional way, using Excel or using other things, and they didn't like the switch. But nowadays you start seeing, for example, there's a new app here. It's been around for at least 2-3 years, that is the same thing as Uber, but this guy just like copied the idea and put it here in Venezuela, and they're doing fine. Like people are starting to accept and starting to bring in those services that people can provide. And I want to like grab that switch that's coming here right now, and start like developing my own ideas, because I know I have good ideas, but I sometimes, like I said, I have these blocks that it's scary to say, wow, like I have to do this by my own. But I want to do it. I want to bring service to people here in my country, and so that they can see that this technological world isn't as scary as it seems.
Sounds great. How would you like to get started on it, and then next time we meet, you can show us how far you got and what you got stuck on.
I'm very excited to show the process. I'm actually starting. So next week I have like this course that I paid is in React. So I wanted to start, but like after this meeting, I think that Next.js I could start in Next.js too, so that you guys can help me.
Sure.
And
Sure,
I'm
you can.
really excited to start this. So I can start next week, and then I can send you an email
Yeah,
to tell you if I want to show my advances.
yeah, great. It doesn't hurt to start with React too, and then go on to Next.js. That's a good path. Um, Lucas, yeah.
Um,
Oh, a little louder.
uh, it's like, does this work better?
Yeah,
Oh, that's better.
Okay, I have a question because
yeah,
like since I have some basic knowledge of how things generally work, I still don't really know JavaScript. Like I don't know JS at all. I kind
yeah.
of know HTML, but not like great. One thing I did notice from my past of like learning coding has always been like once I go to the project base, like when I learn from the foundation, my brain just doesn't put things together until like I see it actually being implemented. So, but because web have such a long like you have to learn JS first, and then you move on to React, and React go to Next.js. Like there's a lot. So if like what would you recommend for someone like me? Like should I just watch those tutorials of like that builds a whole project with like JS, Tailwind, everything? Like do a few of them until I
Mm,
see how it works, and then like retrace a step backward and search for things I don't understand, or should I just do like that step by step approach of like learn variables, like because I was following the Odin project, if you know of that one,
yeah,
and like that's a long path, kind of
yeah,
thing. But then every time I follow it and I stop for a while, I like forget everything. So
yeah.
yeah.
That's such a good question. And actually, we had someone in the comments just write the exact same thing. Maybe they're a step or two before you, but they said, "Hey, I'm a beginner having basic knowledge of HTML and CSS. What should I learn next?" You're now learning JavaScript. Um, Yeah, great question. I think we could Michael, I think we could probably spend like an hour talking about that, right?
Yeah, I'm actually wondering too if it'd be helpful. Like, I think there's probably one before this, which is like transitioning from, no code or like low code to software, where it's like you're just learning like it sounds like, Lucas, you're just learning the basics, like, how do you write code at all? Is that fair? Like just the beginning part of it.
Like
Or
for the like, I do have experience writing code when I was doing Unity, because like I managed to, the extent that I pushed my coding limit was when I made like a prototype, because it's a VR thing. It was a VR with like Arduino all combined to make a haptic vest in VR. So like I kind of get like the logic and like how to write the code. Like the principles of array and variables, if statements, all of
Okay.
those like I kind of get. It's just I don't like the web, how the web will glue them together, and it's just like that part I don't fully get, and I'm not sure, because when I was learning React, like it never stick, and I watched one tutorial about like how they built the Notion from scratch for like the first 10 minutes, and I felt like that landed much better. So like but then every time I talk with it, if I jump straight into the thing, would that
Yeah.
like that's
Yeah. I heard a lot of your original question I could really relate to. Basically, one path that you could take is, do I learn from the foundation, from the theory up, JavaScript, then TypeScript, then React, then Next.js, or do I just like dive into it and just start building? Personally, I just say, speak for myself. I learned the second way when I was building. Actually, when I started learning, I like React didn't even wasn't a thing. But, I didn't wait to learn. I didn't wait to learn like HTML or CSS before I started JavaScript or anything like that. I just started everything at the same time, and that's how I enjoyed. I enjoyed it, and I think there's a lot of, if React is difficult, there's easier things, like there's Svelte, and Svelte is like a simpler version of React, which to me makes a lot of sense to learn rather than going to JavaScript, which is just a much more, which like you cannot really build a lot in just JavaScript, whereas there are alternatives to JavaScript which may be easier. Maybe not Next.js, maybe something that has the same functionality that's maybe simpler. There, we can help you to brainstorm there. But personally, I learned just by jumping into things. Yeah.
I'm kind of this. I'm in the same boat, James. I'm more of like like a ladder. I just learned a lot like on the go. I do think like it sounds like you do have a basic knowledge of programming. I think that kind of is critical. Like if you don't know programming at all, like it's good to start with like a basics of programming. Just because like everything is going to be built on top of that.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say is like also another one I'm curious about, Lucas, you could check out is like HTMLX, which is I think similar to Svelte, which is basically like I think they're just getting rid of JavaScript entirely, and it's just like HTML templates, and that might be something that's kind of fun to play around with. Like if you're like, hey, I just want to learn how to make stuff on the web. But yeah,
Oh,
I haven't
for
tried
me,
it though, so.
for me as well, Lucas, I was in your position exactly a year ago. So as James said, I also follow the second path. I just dove right into it, started building everything all together, and just I now I know stuff. So that's the path I would also recommend. That you once you start building it, you'll know everything, how it is working, and how for Next.js as well. I started using it like 1-2 months ago, and now I know a lot of Next.js as well. So basically, that you just start doing it, and then you'll know stuff.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah, I think it's just a lot more motivating to like feel like you're like just like to build something. So like I think that's what I think about is like have a goal, and then doesn't matter which tool you choose, like just pick the one you want to learn and then try and build it in that framework and that system. And when you get stuck, like there's lots of good Stack Overflows, Reddit. I honestly
Now we
highly
have
recommend if you're
ChatGPT as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you're learning now, it's like I think it's for a lot of people. I'd say pay the $20 a month for Cursor or whatever, and it's just like worth it because it helps you. Like you
Yeah.
can literally just ask it like, why does this not work, and it will answer 89% of the time. It'll give you the right answer. Or what is this doing? Like I literally sometimes just ask, like I'll write code and then be like, hey, I want to make sure it's doing what I think it should. And I just say, Cursor, what would it like? Tell me exactly what this code would do, and it's like. It'll like read it and be like, oh, it does this and that. I'm like, that's exactly what I wanted to do. Perfect. Okay, hit submit. Like I did it right. You know? So
Cool. Before we wrap up, does anyone want to throw in anything else that they'd request that we talk about at the next one?
I honestly, I think my favorite part is I like the demoing. Like I just like seeing
Yeah.
other people's code and then talking
Yeah.
through like what problem they were trying to solve. I think
Yeah.
I maybe covered a lot because I feel like I've covered a lot, but like maybe I could have narrowed it down to like, here's one challenge that I've worked on. And either you're like stuck on it or you're like proud of what you did. Because I think sometimes like those are sometimes really interesting too. Like, hey, I had this problem, I figured it out, and I'm like, I can show you how it works. So if you ever run into that same problem or need that have that same need, I think that's like the most interesting to me, to be honest.
For sure. I have a feeling that Stripe integration is in my future. So that can be payments is definitely something I can show how I did. But if we talk again in 2 weeks, then we can do that.
Cool.
Yeah. Cool.
Well, yeah. Thanks everyone for joining, and yeah, I'll be in touch about when we can do this, when we're gonna do this again. I hope to see you all again for the next time. And in the meantime, if you want to join either the machine learning with Python or the like low code with Thunkable and Flutterflow sessions, just let me know.
All right.
Thank
Hey,
you,
thanks for
everyone,
doing this,
for the
James.
knowledge.
Yeah,
Thank you for coming, everyone.
thanks. It was a lot of fun.